Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. I am Jenny Lee. Tonight is Tuesday, April 24th, and tonight I have with me Miss Dana.
Hi, guys.
And Miss Lisa is not here tonight. She is at a wake for a wrestling coach in her school district who sadly passed away this week at 51 years of age. He was a wrestling coach for Whitman. His name was Vinny Altabrando. Did you hear about any of that?
I got a brief synopsis of it. Unfortunately, I wasn't really made aware of it until tonight. I don't have anyone any longer in Whitman, and my boys did football, so I didn't really recognize the name, and I didn't actually put the two together until you told me about Lisa. It's unfortunate because he was only 51 years old, so
Yeah.
still fairly young, and he has children.
Yeah, he had a beautiful family.
Yeah.
Here's the GoFundMe as of tonight. But this I picked this one because this was just such a beautiful picture of his family. There were other news articles, but this said everything you needed to know.
Wow, they already raised $87,000
in 2 days.
Wow,
this man was loved. He was think of it. He was a very, very loved man. Vincent Altabrando Memorial Fund. He was a teacher and wrestling coach at Walt Whitman High School. Coach Altabrando was a mentor, friend, motivator, and a role model for many students. The South Huntington community will miss him greatly. His boisterous cheer when a wrestler won, to an encouraging smile and hug when there was a loss. Either way, his dedication to Whitman wrestlers was visible. He is loved, he is missed, but will remain in our hearts forever. More importantly, he was a husband and father. He leaves behind his wife and 4 beautiful daughters. Let's honor Coach and ease the financial burden that comes with losing someone so suddenly. This memorial fund is to assist his family. Any donation is greatly appreciated. We thank you with all of our hearts.
Wow.
So that's where Lisa is. And she said that there was thousands, about 2,000. She said she's still outside, and she went for, I think, 5 o'clock, and there was people in front of her and back of her. So she's hopefully, since we're covering the election results tonight, our show may go a little longer than normal. But hopefully she'll just pop in after she's done, and she can let us know, because we kept the room open for her. So moving on, we are covering the special election tonight. Dana, tell us a little bit about that.
We have the open seat for the state assembly, which is the 2 contenders. The 2 candidates are Stephen Stern and Janet Cimitelli. So they are going to be filling Chad Lupinacci's seat because, of course, he had to vacate it once he became the town supervisor. And it has been an interesting campaign, to say the least. But it is a very important election. I don't think people really understand that these people actually make the laws. And I was going through Facebook, and Eric, I cannot remember his last name, but he put in only 150 people voted in his district. And this was about like 7 o'clock. I never understood people who always are the loudest mouth in the room, but then where are you when it comes time to vote? Because as far as I'm concerned, if all you do is complain, then you're part of the problem.
There's 178 electoral districts in the entire township of Huntington. Mine is number 104. I went at 5 o'clock, and there was 49 people had voted in my district.
That is bananas.
It's pathetic.
And it's like, when I complain about local government, I don't have a problem, because I'm at the meetings. I go to whatever the information I have. I, stake my claim. I vote in every election.
Mm-hmm.
If you do the same, when you, state your opinion, because we're usually together and I know what you're doing. Sidebar, when I went in with Blake, he was like, when is Miss Jenny coming? I was like, we don't go everywhere together. She's going to do her own thing at her own place. But, so people like that who I know that are involved, when they make a statement, then okay, I can respect that. But the people who don't get involved and all you do is complain about this and complain about that, and you don't bother to vote, I don't really have anything to say to you, even if it's for my candidate that I want.
So now take the amount of people who actually show up to vote, and then narrow it down to a major issue like what we're talking about with the Villadome, right? How many people actually show up that'll take the time to write an email to their town board, right? CC the town clerk. Always CC the town clerk. You end up on the next town agenda. But even that amount is low. It's easy to click on a petition online, but you really have to do that.
Right.
So think about on top of how many people won't email, because we see the agendas every week. But on top of that, how many, I'm sorry, twice a month now, not every week. And how many people don't show up to town board meetings and speak on the record about the issues? They'll take it online on social media and they'll, oh, this bothers me, but they will not go on the record at town hall. And that's where your voice really matters.
But you know what I find interesting? I find it very interesting that when it comes to animals, that place is jam-packed. And I'm
about to get those people on my case right now, because this dog, every show, the raccoons only show up on the show. You've noticed that, right? It's always 5 minutes in. Yeah. So I want these PETA people after me, because I'm going to yell at my dog in the next 5 minutes. Finley, go lay down.
Sorry. I see you on the news.
But you're right. I know. I am the news. Dang it! Just pulled the fast one. No, we are the news now. There's nobody covering the local stuff, and it's really important, and that's why we do it. But you're right. When it comes down to like the rescue places for the cats and the dogs, the place is packed. You'll be there till midnight listening to public portion. But when it comes But when it comes to like the things that really make a difference, not so much. There's not much going on.
No, and it's sad, because I would think people will be more inclined to be involved with people that are actually going to be making decisions for you, your family, your community, essentially everything you do. I would be the first one there. Everybody doesn't share that, obviously.
No, not at all.
So
that is for certain. But we do need more people to get. I'm trying to set up our next segment for you, because believe it or not, we are somewhat organized.
We're pretty good.
We do pretty good.
Yeah, I think we do. We try to cover everything.
So our last show was last Tuesday. And what did we do on Wednesday?
Well, we attended the meeting for the Greater Civics Huntington and Civics United and everybody else, Huntington Matters. All those civics gave a presentation. Now, when we went to this
June demanded a retraction. That Newsday was wrong. That they did not host this. This was hosted by the Greater Huntington Civic Group and the Elwood taxpayers. They
exactly. Exactly. First of all, there's written documentation. That's one. And two, when you have a spokesperson that every single time we have a meeting, we're in town hall, include your name or your organization, your corporation, whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry to tell you, birds of a feather flock together. So whether you intended for it to be part of the meeting, it was part of the meeting. Not to mention, you were standing right smack dab there doing whatever it is you were doing, and you were interacting with the developer. Now, anyone can say, well, anybody could have been taking the video and anyone could have been doing the talking to the developer. That's correct. But anybody did not have a representative say we're all together. So I don't feel bad. I don't feel sorry. And I think that when you see things that are going sour, that's not the time for you to say, oh, I want a retraction. That's not how it goes. If you are claiming to speak for the community, and then then you see that the information that has been given out is incorrect, you don't have the opportunity at that time to say, oh, now we're not associated. No, because you were associated. And if you go back to the town hall meetings, which are one, are recorded, and two, everything is, the minutes are recorded as well, and you can live stream it. Every single time one individual goes up to the podium and says that they're speaking for the greatest civics, and they go down the list. Not once was Huntington Matters ever excluded.
Actually, several people have spoken for, because it's not just Rob. Matt gets up there and he speaks for Huntington Matters as well. There's many that you don't hear from, but many that you don't hear from.
That's something that particular organization needs to work on.
Yeah.
We don't get to pick and choose what we support when it doesn't go the way that the community wants. It doesn't work like that.
Nope.
And
you're right. That's what happened, because she changed gears. So the day after, when she saw the community's response, and why don't we show a brief clip of that to get people to understand the energy of where we were coming from when we left that meeting Wednesday night. Not everybody saw it. A lot of people did, but not everybody did. Thank goodness for live video. Before we go there, though, it's just really weird because they haven't called any results yet, but they already have a percentage. Like up here, do you see where it says number of districts?
No, I can't see. It's very small, but go ahead.
They have one district reported, and which is nothing. And Janet is 52% and Steve's at 47%. But it's early. It's one district.
Yeah, it's very early.
So we'll see. It's really early. There's 178 to go through. So
yeah, before you show that video, I would like the listeners to understand this. When I went to the meeting, and I'm sure a lot of people were the same way, I was under the impression that these groups had several meetings with the community, that the community was all gung-ho for it. I was under the impression that all the X's, all the I's, all the T's, everything was dotted, everything was correct. That was the impression that I was given. However, watch the video and you'll see what the community, because the place was packed.
And I had a different side of you, because I had already been chattering, because you joined the Stop the Philodrome group way after I did. So I had already been seeing the energy that had been coming out of the group. And I was like, uh-oh, they're in trouble. And I knew, because even when Stephen got there, he's like, oh, it's nice for you to show up to my meeting. And I'm like, I'm just here to watch the fireworks because I see what's coming. So I kind of knew, and I think I expressed to you before we went, but they had come out and said that they were having the meeting to correct misinformation and falsities that were spreading online. So this whole group of people took that as an insult. They grabbed their torches and they headed down to the meeting, and we're going to give you a small taste of what happened. If you want to see the whole video, go to our Facebook page. It's on there. Turn it up a little for you.
I'm wondering how you reach the conclusion that the community supports it. You made that statement of how to do this greater Huntington Civic Group. And I think it tells us how did you come to that conclusion? We had
23 to 28 individual meetings with civic leaders.
Nobody met with us. Right around the block. Nobody came to talk to us.
You're right.
So you made that 23 meetings. How many members do you have now? How big is your organization?
And how are you elected as president?
What again, we need to understand, okay? We're all community members here.
Yeah, but you need to understand that you don't speak for the community.
I'm not saying.
You're up here talking about it. Why did they call you? Why wasn't that presented right? Why did Chris go to the town?
Right.
Say, I want to speak to all the members of the community. Send out a message. We need transparency in this town. 100%. Not small groups that say they stand for everybody else. I don't know who you are. I never met you. I could run over you and not know your name.
Right.
Nothing against you. You probably put a lot of time and effort in. And like we said, you don't speak to the community. So those 28 meetings, they mean nothing.
Fair enough.
Okay, I'm just
laying out the fact. I'm just laying out the fact.
I have an actual question
Yes.
based on the fact that you gave.
Sure.
As a real estate developer myself in Manhattan, why is this taking tax? No one. That doesn't make any economic sense.
There's $8.8 million on the
Answer the question. Why answer the question? I've taken tax abatements on every single project I've ever worked on.
Right.
Why
Why are you not answering the question?
Guys, wait, guys, just please, one at a time. We're all humans here. Calm down, one at a time, please. Please.
Nobody wants.
All right, so back to the question. Why are you taking tax abatement?
This project doesn't qualify for IDA relief. I was sent to IDA some 5-6 years ago by the town, invited by IDA. I listened. They asked me, what do you think you can do here? I said, the project is zoned for residential. I was
Just a discussion now. You're not committed to build this if they approve it. You could put something else in if the IDA does approve.
Anything that's.
Because are you really, because this, I asked someone before, to show me the map. I could make that up and say it's Disney World. None, are you committed? That's what it's gonna look like? I asked someone, what's the green belt? Oh, well, that might be something else, might be the library. So this is total meaningless. You just want the zoning change. You'll get control of the property.
Can he just answer the question?
No, I'm just asking.
I'm trying. Go ahead, Chris.
So commercial projects in Long Island do not qualify, from my understanding, for IDA. This is a all commercial project, mixed use, but it does not include residential. I understand there is a criteria to meet the IDA requirements, and this project does not meet those requirements. And that was the end of the conversation. Never been applied to, never been met with anyone, it's never been discussed, and we have put it on our website and pledged to the community, the those that attended the past 20+ meetings, that there is no IDA, and I'm saying again tonight, there's no IDA.
This is not a mixed use plan. It's not mixed use.
Mixed use to the extent of commercial, no
Mixed
residential.
use has a specific,
The reason why it
has a specific definition.
Because the C6 zoning change does in fact allow you to put residential above the commercial, as long as the commercial is the primary use. So what I'm asking is, you're saying right now you're doing no residential, and you're not taking this tax abatement, which I understand. But what is to prevent you down the road from saying, this project isn't gonna work because I wasn't able to get the anchor tenants that I need in order to justify it. So I'm modifying the project, and it's now gonna be more like the Mayfair Shopping Center with 2 to 3 floors of apartments above it, which at that point does qualify you for the tax abatement.
Can I answer that?
You will still not take the tax abatement, and you will still not build residential there.
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is, if you change it from what we're applying for, you have to go back to square one. We can't unilaterally change to residential, add second.
So he
floor.
answered the question. I want to fast forward it because they keep pretty much ganging up on him to a certain degree. And you guys, I'm just fast forwarding you a little bit so that you can just get a gist of what we sat through. And then, so it was about, I recommend you watch the whole thing, but it gets really out of control.
I'd just like to address the discussion of all of the meetings and how the conclusion was that community support.
Who are you? Do I know who you represent? I don't know who you are.
You're a rude person.
Yes.
We've interrupted just about everybody who's had something to say.
the community supports it.
I'm trying to give you an answer, but there's only one anybody
I would like to know who you are. I know
I've been trying to give you an answer.
that's being rude.
Don't say community.
No, we had 100 civic group, Elwood
Oh,
taxpayers, throughout the whole, seems that Elwood debacle, had multiple meetings with the community. During that process, this thing got introduced. Chris Talking came in and spoke to us, and of the people that attended these meetings, there was support. Now, the problem is, nobody comes to the meeting.
Oh, I don't know. Nobody knew about it. Because they didn't know about it.
The civic participation is up to you. You show up and voice your
Listen,
opinion.
I just have to say one thing. All right, listen, I just want
Nobody showed up until the very end, and then all of a sudden,
to just Elwood, this is town of Hunting.
all I'm saying is there were lots of community meetings, Elwood taxpayers.
No, I did not know about those
That you
meetings.
people didn't come to.
I didn't know about them.
I'm not saying what side I'm on, this is all I'm saying, the meetings bigger, people, all the invitations. Well, people didn't come.
How can you go to a meeting that you have not heard about? Not possible.
So you made the decision for it. Thanks for making the decision for it. I don't know your name. Thanks for making my decision for it. Okay? I'm not laying on your name. Thanks. I didn't elect you.
I can't.
This was a very tough meeting to have, like you just said, Lisa. I understand it's a tough meeting to have.
It's not a public
But-
meeting.
no,
It's a public meeting. What does that mean?
I know, I'm trying to have it civilly.
Let you present, why do you want this, and then everyone can ask questions. This is not simple, we're not like this, we don't wanna do this.
Why don't you go around?
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%.
We'll all be.
So right now, this is the open format, so we can have a conversation amongst fellow
And put the
neighbors.
mic up and let people get up here and ask questions one by one, civilly,
Absolutely.
instead of this shouting out
I agree
nonsense.
with you.
Get control of your meeting.
I agree with you, thank you, Chair. So
I have a hard time watching that. It gives me anxiety.
I have mixed emotions about the meeting. I mean, I'm not for the Village Dome now that I definitely have more information. When I went to the meeting, I was not for or against. I really went to the meeting to get information. And I didn't base my decision off of what we learned at the meeting. I based it off of some of the comments that were made at the meeting, and also doing my own research, and then also following certain things on certain groups on Facebook where I actually heard the community talk about why they didn't want it. Here's my problem. If you listen to the video, which we just did, and that was just a snippet of it, 'cause we were in the front row.
Shaking right now from
It was
reliving.
crazy.
I had post-traumatic stress
Crazy.
disorder when I left that meeting. It was so brutal.
And they were not, we all who were there and claim that these people spoke for us, and you and I are definitely involved. Lisa and I live maybe 4 minutes away from where this project is going to be. We cross those roads every single day.
Yeah.
You live like about 5 minutes away or 6 minutes. So we have to go that way. So it directs us, directly. So I needed more information, but the people in there, we were all upset. We all wanted information. I could not believe how belligerent the people were. I thought they were going to break out into a fight. I really did. I got so nervous.
I was so
Because we were right there.
You were in the front because I needed my mic to catch what was going to be said. And all I got
was waiting for like
Steven's pacing feet.
That's it. And if you look at my stance when I'm there, my head is down because I'm afraid that someone is going to throw a chair or do something, because they were very
That was my thought. I said when we were leaving, I thought someone was going to throw a chair. But these people were set up, and the developer was set up from what I understand now, because let's go ahead and break this down, shall we? This meeting was hosted by the Elwood Taxpayers Association, Jim
Right.
Cameron, and Greater Huntington Civic Group, Stephen Spuchis.
That's who hosted it.
Those were the hosts of the meeting.
Okay.
However, you are whom you stand with. So we'll get into that whole part later. But let's break down Elwood Taxpayers Association, because I think that they need to be cleared of being a fake civic.
Yes.
From what I understand, Jim Cameron had started a group by the name of Preserving Elwood Now. During Oak Tree, and Elwood Taxpayers was still being run by a different entity. And somewhere across the line, I forget when it happened, but I think it was right after Oak Tree, and Taxpayers Association of Elwood fell apart because there was such a division in the community about the people that went in to negotiate it. They came in with that, and it became a community divided. And there was nothing left of Preserving Elwood Now for the most part. So they merged the two together. That's from what I understand from a few people who are still members of the group. But they still have meetings. They still take minutes.
Right, they have minute books.
And they elect their officers via their membership. They are a real civic. A real civic allows you to go to an open meeting, become a member, and eventually, if you would like to run for office, you can. These positions can be challenged. If there's no way to challenge the positions, they're a fake civic.
I agree.
So Elwood needs to be cleared. Preserving Elwood Now, I don't believe exists anymore. So you shouldn't be looking for letters of support or anybody speaking on town hall under Preserving Elwood Now. Okay. Greater Huntington Civic Group does not have meetings. Stephen also owns the name of United Civics of Huntington because he had this idea that he wanted to create an umbrella of civics for the town. And they've had a couple of meetings for all the other civics, including Huntington Matters and everything else. But I think it was, how many episodes was it? We actually covered that meeting on our show. And because I recall that we said that it took 7 civics to get 30 people in a room.
I remember that.
Yeah, Lisa went to that. I wish she was here to help us out with that.
I remember that, but I don't remember the details. I believe she went to that. Didn't Lisa go cover that one?
She did. She went to cover it because, oh, that's right. I was visiting my son who's currently serving in the Air Force. That's what happened with that.
Yeah, I remember that. And God bless him. Let's hope it looks over him.
Do you want to do a quick check-in real quick? Because it's an election show also. So we have 7 districts reporting, and you guys, you can find this in for any election you'd like. SuffolkCountyNewYork.gov. How do we? Hey, we got more in. Oh, because it's a different district. That's right. It's the 10th. I got it. For a town election, it's 178. I got a little confused by the 187 number, but I'm back on track now. This is for the Assembly District. So Steve Stern currently has 162 votes, and Janet has 173. You can see how close these off-year elections are. Again, it's still early. There's 187 districts with 7 reporting, and 180 to go. So we may be here all night.
How many reported already?
7. Which leaves us so much time to talk about the Greater Huntington Civic Group and the United Civics of Huntington. So yeah, Stephen's one guy. He doesn't have meetings, so you can't join and become a member. No. And you aren't able to. I don't know what's going on over there. The craziest thing happened. It was the last election. It was the last election that was insane. And it happened. I mean, it's not like we're making it up and spreading rumors. These are the facts that happened as they did with the election, that the United Civics of Huntington hosted a meet and greet with the candidates in Nassau County, and said that you make your checks payable to GHCG for the Greater Huntington. And the ticket price was very steep on it.
I think it was $300, right?
Yeah, well, and that was if you were a member. Lisa kept saying, how do I become a member so I get no, that's if you were a non-member. There was a cheaper price if you were a member. And Lisa kept chasing him around on Facebook going, how much, where do I get a membership? How much for a membership? She couldn't figure out, how do I even join to pay less to go meet all the candidates? And then when he said, what are you going to do with the money that you raised from this fundraiser? He said, well, we're going to back a candidate. But which one? I mean, you're using all of them to make money and not for nothing, but you're a nonprofit civic. So it's the bastardization process of what a civic group is supposed to mean to the people. That's what's happening, especially with, so we'll get into Huntington Matters, but we wanted to show you something else with that first before we jumped over to Huntington Matters. So people have been asking us for the list of the civics. So Elwood, good. Preserving Elwood Now, gone. Greater Huntington Civic Group, defunct. United Civics of Huntington, totally watering down the first part of the defunct. Okay, so after the meeting on Wednesday, because June Margolin was there recording and live streaming the meeting, as were we, she got wrongly billed in a Newsday article that she was the group was one of the hostesses of the group.
Right.
So she went out and put up a retraction, basically, that they weren't the hosts and they didn't want to have anything to do with this because they saw the reaction of the people.
From the people. Mm-hmm.
Right. And what happened from that?
She wanted to have everything retracted, but you can't retract. You've been associated with this group since I don't know when. You never made a public statement that you were separated.
And by associated with the group, you mean them meeting and talking about the project with the Greater Huntington Civic Group and Elwood taxpayers.
Correct.
Doesn't it almost seem like Stephen hangs on to Jim because Jim has a legitimate organization and it keeps him relevant, like he drags him along with him? That's like what it's starting to look like with me.
Well, first of all, I know both Stephen and Jim. And I can say we both know them.
Sorry, me too.
We're not part of that move, no. I work with Jim on a few projects, and this just did not seem like something he would do. It's just not in his protocol. That's not, and I've watched him on a number of occasions. So I was surprised when I heard that this was his meeting. He knows what he's doing. I can't speak as far as Stephen goes because I don't see him at anything. How are they having all these meetings and how are they representing the community when one of the most outstanding pieces to me at that particular meeting that we went to was the lady who went up and she was talking about her pool was in their picture.
Yes.
She was like, this is my pool right here. I like to use my pool. I like looking at the bats. What am I going to do for the 2 years of construction when you're getting all the soot and crap in my pool? What am I supposed to do? That really stood out, And then she also stated, I live right here. Right. This will directly affect me. I received no notification about your meetings. So what 23 to 28 meetings did you have?
So I think what happened is when, and I think the developer, I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me for saying this, but I think he was handed the same impression that the public was under about these groups. I think the developer was deceived with the reach that these two groups even combined have in the general public. Because if this is coming down to outreach and the developer's approaching you because you're the biggest, right? But you're not getting the word out, then how big are you if you're just having the same meetings with a few people? Because it's my understanding it was between 15 to 20 people at each one of those meetings. That's not a lot of people. So your outreach function bar is not working, whether you put up signs or not. You don't have the clout of membership people standing behind you that you gave the impression to the developer. The one people who did that was Huntington Matters. We located after June asked for a retraction from Newsday.
Right.
It surfaced this letter written on Huntington Matters letterhead, right? And here, I'm going to find it here because it's easier for me on my phone. It's right there. It's the first one that's on there. They had stated they gave this letter of support to the project in 2016 on letterhead, and it was written at the bottom, as the civic organization with over 4,500 members, all concerned with blah, blah, blah. You can go see this. It's the first one because it's all over the internet. That's why it was so easily found. But so here you have Huntington Matters that's with them saying, well, we have 4,500 people. Do you know where that number of So first of all, Huntington Matters. Is Huntington Matters a civic group who has meetings and has minutes? And it goes meetings, membership, minutes, and election of board members. Do they do that?
Not that I'm aware of. I never heard of it.
They don't have. I had asked. I can't tell you how many times. When are you guys having meetings? When are you guys having meetings? Because I wanted to join and run because you won't let me any other way, and it's unfair that it's true. I'm so mean. I just want to be included. If they just would have included me, this would have gone so much better for them.
Oh my Lord, help us!
So
please.
sad. So anyways, we got this letter of support from their 4,500 people. They were taking, so I have a Facebook page. It's called Parents of Huntington. It has roughly 4,800 people on it. And it would be quite ballsy of me to get a letterhead that made me the president of Parents of Huntington. And I was writing letters of support for a project for anything and negotiating with the developer without anybody else's knowledge and saying that I represent those 4,500, well, mine's 4,800, without their consent, without a vote, without me having open meetings and them actually wanting to join my organization through membership that is kept within minutes, where dues are paid. That's how you run an organization. Huntington Matters is a corporation. It has an executive board, and I don't even know whether they elect each other or appoint each other or, how they decide to use but they are not the classic of what people know to be a civic group. So they shouldn't even be allowed to use that word, but they do because that word comes with power. That word means grassroots efforts to go door to door to get people to believe your message and elect people from that membership to speak for them. That's how a real civic group works.
That's what I thought.
No,
And I was confused because even if they're an organization and they have an executive board, the executive board has to be voted on. You can't pick some random off the street and be like, hi, you want to? No, it doesn't work like that. It's not supposed to work like that. And you're supposed to, regardless if you have an executive board, somebody should be taking minutes somewhere because who's to say what's going on? Even if you don't have a set of rules, Robert Rules of Orders for your board should fall into place. Because if you are a corporation, organization, and something goes wrong, that's the purpose of having minutes in a minutes book so you can go back and refer. Why do you think the town hall meetings are always recorded? It's not because they like to hear themselves speak. It's because they needed to go back for reference.
Court recorder and visually recorded. They have double backup, and it's because it's the only permit besides newspaper that gets articles that get added in. Like, I think, was it Cheryl Lynn Blum who pulled up an old article of Stephen at a rally? Right?
So yeah, and I sent it to you. And
you did?
Like, is that you?
Here,
Yeah,
and I'm like, you know what? This is really typical. I'm going to find this while we're on here. So, but
yeah, because I asked you. I said, Jenny, what is going on? Remember, I sent you the picture. I didn't even realize. I saw Lillian. I didn't realize that you had the baby on your hip. I was like,
baby, and who did they name in that article?
Steven Spoochis.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is, and he's standing right there.
He's at the microphone, and so who's going to get? Not that I care, I don't care, but right. Who's going to go down in history? In that part of that. It's like, dang,
listen.
Here we go.
But
I found it.
Got it.
I have to show this because it made me mad because it goes back to that whole men get more attention than women. Sometimes when you don't realize the women are usually the ones. There it is. Look,
yep, I remember that one.
Addresses supporters of the Greater Huntington Civic Group. There's my little friend's daughter, Layla. And then Lily's behind me. That's me with the glasses. And that's my little Liam, who's now 10 years old and going into middle school. That's how long this has been going on. But yeah, she pulled that up and I was like, look at that. She pulled it up through Steven Spoochis, man. And so he did. At one point, there was a lot of clout for our group. And that's why I think when Twerkin came to him, it was the tail end of the clout before Oak Tree failed on the people. And then everything had fallen. Steven had no real backing, but he was already having these conversations. And he didn't realize yet that he didn't have backing. He didn't know better to hear what was being said to him from the community in Huntington Station, where the Greater Huntington Civic was born. He didn't. So they called us the Cupcake Gang because we were a bunch of PTA moms. And that's so sexist that they did that now that you think about it. But whatever, we were the Cupcakers. He had totally lost support from the Cupcakers. And once that happened in our district, it was over. And he didn't realize it because now he's over messing around in Oak Tree and rah. And in the moment, didn't realize he had lost the base of support that got him where he was. So then afterwards, when Penn fell apart, he had nowhere to go but stay with Jim, basically. I hope everybody is following as Huntington turns.
I think that part of his issue, okay.
Oh, I got your hair.
I'm sorry, because my charger fell out.
Oh,
of course. Everything that can go wrong when you don't want it to go wrong goes wrong. Everything. I'm trying to be discreet, and all you see is my bangs or the blonde part. I know. The problem with Steven, for me, is that he's very arrogant. He doesn't like to admit when he is wrong. He should have he should have gracefully bowed out once he saw the debacle that was unfolding right in front of his very eyes. And for you to give the illusion to people says a lot about the position you hold in the town, but it also says a lot about the people who. It says a lot about the people in the town, because the people have to be held accountable. You should know who's speaking for you and who's not speaking for you, because every single show we do, we make a comment on who's speaking for who. So while I do fault Steven to an extent for giving the illusion, but it's also the people's fault because they did not check in and they didn't correct it. So we have to figure out, what exactly is going on. And the people, it's no longer okay to say, I didn't know. That's not a good enough excuse any longer. Because with modern technology.
Well, now they know. Now they absolutely know.
Yeah.
And there's no good excuse to say I don't. Are you ready? I think I got this.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Supervisor, Town Council people, Robert Rockline, various organizations, various times for various reasons. Good afternoon, Supervisor, Town Council people, Robert Rockline, various organizations, various times for various reasons.
Did you hear that clearly? That's a watered down message. And that's Robert Rockline. He's with Huntington Matters. And that's the paperwork that's been on for 2016. So when they wonder why they're getting so much slack for not hosting the Elwood taxpayers and Greater Huntington Civic Group. They're really not taking accountability in the fact that they played a huge part in this. They used their membership backing.
Right.
And in fact, they made it up. That's a fake civic. I'm sorry, that's a fake civic. Huntington Matters is a fake civic.
I don't even think they consider themselves to be a civic, though, because what do they do really?
They put it on a piece of paper that they are a civic organization. We are going to hand out an award this year for the fakest civic. I'll have to find something to
if you
give
think
them.
about it, if you go to a developer and say that you have an organization and you have close to 5,000 members, I'm listening to what you have to say.
And not only that, when it comes down to negotiating your community benefits agreement, I'm getting something because I helped you. I did something for you. I know this project is going in, so I'm going to get mine, baby. I need seed money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. Something about the whole thing reeked of just disaster.
And I'm not saying that that's what they're doing.
We don't know what they're doing because
that has been done. And I know that that's been done because I saw the list of people with their hands out in the very beginning of Avalon Bay. And they were all organizations run by one or two little people. There was the Friends of the Huntington train station. They water the plants. They were up for $500,000. $500,000 to water plants.
That's what I'm saying. I don't trust anything he says now, because he's already been proven not to be truthful. Jenny, remember that thing we discussed about the Amiri today?
Yes.
Just wing it for 3 minutes so I can sing with them.
Oh, it's fine. I'm going to go ahead and do an election update right now. So
Okay.
you've got a few minutes. Run, girl.
I will.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you guys a live elections result. So far, there are 98 districts reporting. And Steve Stern has 3,220 votes, and Janet has 2,515. If you wanted to go back and review the very first episode that brought Be the Media to Be, we talk a lot about the lines. And by lines, we mean the Democratic line, the Working Families line, the Independence line, the Women's Equality line, the Reform, the Republican, the Conservative. And it basically comes down to being a game of math. Whoever's able to get the most lines wins, because each line comes with a certain percentage of the vote. And if you have, so basically, and you'll also start to see, we've seen the judgeships go up, and we have seen Democratic judges that are being backed by the Conservative Party, who get into office. We've even seen judges that are endorsed by every single party, giving you the illusion of being able to vote, because a lot of people mostly just go down and they pull the lever for whatever party they're in without even checking into the candidates. The most important ones that you can keep an eye on are definitely the judgeships. You'll see a lot of silly business going on over there, but with 109, got to pull this back down again. 109, sorry, we're in the 10th. 3,513 and 2864. I would say you can pretty much call that race at this point. I thought we were going to be here a little bit later than we are. And okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump back into the rally on Saturday. There was a rally for the Villa Dom, and we had some really great coverage on our Huntington View page. We stayed live at the rally the whole time. I just need a moment to go ahead and set this one up for you, because both of my other ladies are out, and now I am here trying to find them on my own. Okay, so we do have the rally. I'm going to bring you a little bit of the rally so you can see what we were doing over there. We got some really great interviews with some local people who really care a lot about their community.
Yes, please.
Okay, safe.
Get right in the middle. Ooh, let's get a little deep into
Got it. I'm back.
All right.
Oh, well, you're back?
I already interviewed Deborah.
Oh,
Well, I kind of.
Wow.
That was, Deborah, be fair, that was hardly an attack.
Come
Come on.
You probably attacked.
What did I hit you with my microphone? Come on, Deborah. You were doing a good job. We wouldn't need people like me.
Wow, I landed at the wrong spot, didn't I? Boy, I was just trying to fill the time. I didn't mean to. I was just fast-forwarding it. And like, it's just funny how things happen to me. So anyways, I had run into Deborah, and it's all on the video. I think it was, did I say it was 34 minutes in when I went to go look for it? And I had ran into Deborah earlier on. That's Deborah Morris from Newsday. And I had asked her a question about the article that June had asked that she retract. And I said that when you do your correction, could you make sure that you also correct that they're not a civic group? And I should have backed off. If you go back and look at the live thing, I guess I should have, but she felt attacked, I guess. But I didn't really attack her. So if you're out there, Deborah, I guess I'm sorry. I didn't really attack you. If I attacked you, you'd like being, you know, attacks are real. They're not words. People are so sensitive. So Dina, go ahead.
I was surprised when I heard that. I know I've definitely had multiple discussions with Deborah. She's usually, I find her to be fairly reasonable. I'm not gonna say I find her to be reasonable. I don't think that I don't have anything bad to say about her. So I was surprised when
that was a hard spot for her, because I think the people from Oakwood were already had a previous issue with her from Oak Tree Dairy, and I think it carried over into that and really had nothing to do with the rally. But because they share some of the same residents, that there was some residual animosity. So I don't think it had anything to do with me. She just felt attacked when. Plus, she's a reporter, and I decided to put her on the other side of the camera. So, you know,
I think it was just a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
That could have been resolved better than the way, it was resolved. That's just my opinion.
Oh, so I think while you were gone, Steve Stern won, but we'll check that in a second because I wanted to bring. Did
he win the whole thing?
I think it's only like 109 districts, but he's way ahead. Do you want to check with me real quick? I just checked with everybody. We'll check right after.
Okay.
Okay. So, so we were at the rally on Saturday, the rally for Villadom. Great energy. This is such a great group of people. Nice, really nice people. And they're very, very smart. I went through that crowd. If anybody, I have the raw feed. I'm a big fan of raw feed. If you've been watching our show for a while, I believe that people should make their own, or if you don't have time, that's why we give you our opinion on it. But we do review or do the work. But what smart people, like, they really know why they don't want this, and they're trying to be painted in a different way, and it's entirely untrue. So let me set this up for you. Andrew just gave such a great speech at the end.
When we are gone, people will still be here, and they will need this precious resource. Our water does not come from some big well in upstate New York. Our water comes from under your feet. Folks, this is a landlocked piece of property for a mile and a half. How can you get here? So they say it's Jericho Turnpike. Shopping makes sense. Well, unless you have a helicopter, how are you getting to Jericho Turnpike? You have one road here. You have Elwood Road, you have Park Avenue. That's it. And it's already bad. The experts tell you it's bad. But you know what? I'm not an expert. I have eyes, and I have some things between these two ears that tell me I know this is wrong. On May 17th, 7 p.m. at the Elwood Middle School, the 5 human beings, never mind the 10,000 signatures on an electric or paper petition that we will submit, never mind the thousands of people who have joined us on Facebook to object to this abomination, never mind that, the 5 human beings who will make the decision to save this precious resource
will have an opportunity
You
to
hear the cars
listen
honking.
to what you have to say.
Yeah.
It is your last opportunity to influence those 5 human beings who, by the way, you employed. They work for you. You're the boss. But a stay-at-home boss is ineffective. If I stayed at home, my employees would be on Facebook fighting this thing. It works. So if you want to be an effective boss, who's coming out on May 17th, 7 p.m.? You coming out? Yeah. You coming out? You guys coming out? Don't let me come out. Because you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, I didn't know. I wish I knew. I wish somebody told me. When they look out, and that's gone. And it's Walter Cold Market J, whatever. Empty. So please, we need your help. Everybody here have 5 friends. You guys have 5 friends?
Yes.
You have 5 friends? You guys have 5 friends? You got more? Bring them. Talk to them. Tell them. It's important. Thank you. I have them warmed up for you. Go.
That was a great speech.
I
I
want
was
one
there.
of those.
I have a sign.
How did you get that? I want one.
Oh my God, I was there. And you know what? Everyone was upset over turn into Queens Boulevard. They were talking about all that online, like, and I'm like, really? Stop. They're talking about density. They're not saying Queens is bad. They're saying Queens is crowded, and it is. It's higher density than here.
First of all of my children except for Blake were born at St. John's Hospital that used to be on Queens Boulevard across from the Queens Plaza Mall, Queens Center Mall. That place is a danger zone. Somebody used to get hit every day. Queens Boulevard is bananas. It is jam-packed at all. That's the only place that I've ever gone to that when you go into labor at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're still stuck in traffic. You know, so yes. I mean, that's an accurate depiction. Not to say Queens is bad, but everything is jam-packed in that area. You have housing, you have restaurants, and you have a hospital, a shopping center. You have everything. It's too much.
Get away from my sign.
And it stinks over there.
Yeah.
It smells really funky.
Ugh. All right. I'm going to take this back over to here because we're getting close to the end of our show. Okay. I think if it wasn't so close, I wouldn't say that. But I mean, so far spread. But there are 140 districts have reported. We were going to stay on late if the election ran over. But I mean, I don't see a point. Do you?
Who's in the lead?
57% Steve Stern, 42% Janet.
Oh, wow. I mean, things happen at the last minute.
168 in, 58 to 41. It's getting worse for Janet.
Why was your candidate?
Hey, that's wrong, woman.
I can say that this go round.
Hey, I don't cry over politics no more. But I'm a big girl. I don't need to resist.
I wish they did Janet differently.
That was the problem. That's what you and I know what ruined her campaign. It was the fact that she should have run it. She allowed the party to run it, and they attached this visceral nastiness of negative campaigning to it. That was her downfall. She probably would have. She came really close. She would have done so much better if all those signs weren't out there, which is the typical Huntington Republican. I don't know why they do that. I hope they're watching this. Stop doing that. When you go door to door and you're knocking on people's doors and you're talking to them, bring a sign with you, like you're on the up and up, and have them put it on the lawn. Enough with this street littering from everybody. But the GOP really goes overboard with it.
I don't know what happened because I recall when Chad ran for state assembly the first time. I remember him actually dropping off his own sign because he dropped some off to my house.
Right. Yes.
So I don't know how the Republican Party got so far away from what the traditions were. I really don't understand. I mean, I know why they are the way they are now.
Chad ended up, I'm throwing myself out there. I know I got a lot of new friends. They're not going to like this, but Chad got me my Trump signs. Nobody else would get them for me. Remember when I was stalking the Huntington Republican headquarters every day looking for a Trump sign like these? They won't even support their own presidential. I was mad. They got them delivered from Oyster Bay for me because I was making such a big deal about it online. And I know I have new friends. Yes, I'm a Trump girl. Sorry. Local politics are very, very, very different than national ones. But there's also some of you who love me for it. So I'll take the hate.
And I don't support Trump.
I know.
And well, you support our president.
You support our president.
Oh, yes. I will never. I think people who say that they wish harm or they wish something ill will on a sitting president is foolish because we live here.
You're just not a fan of his personally. It's different.
I don't like his politics, but I said that to say you're a Trump supporter, I'm not a Trump supporter, and we don't have any disagreements. We don't have any falling outs.
Yeah, except we're actually really good friends. But it goes down to, I think the whole point was going back to the signage thing, because you were saying Chad got me he went out of his way to help make sure that because they just weren't giving him out. So
yeah, I remember and I'm not the only Republican that feels this way, because I've had conversations and there's a ton of people considering going to the Independence Party just because of how the Republican Party is behaving. Whoever is running the new, it's whoever's running that new system, he needs to stop.
Oh, the new leadership.
I mean, if he needs to stop, and he needs.
You know what's really crazy, and we need to point this out. The reason why we switched right over to the Republican Party is that particular seat has been under Republican rule. It was Republican rule. Chad just got elected to supervisor. Right. Prior to that seat was occupied by Jimmy Conte for a very long time. And prior to that, it went so far back, it was Tony Ritaliata. And Tony Ritaliata is Tony Teep. It was her other marriage or whatever. And that's when she was also the supervisor of the town of Huntington. And she is the current leader of the Republican Party in the township of Huntington. I think that that's important for people to know. And it's probably good that we close on that before I go too far and too deep, too quick.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Plus, it's 10 o'clock.
Oh.
We accomplished our goals. No, we've reached the end, and I'm so sorry that Lisa didn't end up popping in and joining us. But Dana, do you have any final thoughts before this evening's goodbye?
I just, the final results aren't in. I wish the best to both candidates. I just wish the Republican Party would work a little harder at running a decent campaign and actually getting their candidates' information out accurately instead of all the mudslinging.
Yeah, they are the weaker.
Yeah,
they're the weaker of the two major parties. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, we hope everyone enjoyed this evening's Huntington View. Next week, we will be returning to you with a review on the next town board meeting on Tuesday, May 1st at our regular time at 8 o'clock with me, Dana, and Lisa. So I hope everyone enjoyed this evening's Huntington View. Have a good night.
Guys.
Goodbye.